If we transition from last week's Parsha to this week, we find an interesting perspective on tzidkus, righteousness. Let's ask ourselves the question, was Yaakov at the end of last week a winner? Certainly he received the blessings from his father. The Ish Emes had to deceive his holy father, one of the others. Evidently, in Rivka's opinion, the end justified the means. She could not rely solely on bitachon to bring about the desired result. Hashem intervened in the last minute, projecting the true Esav to Yitzchak by way of a prophetic vision, and saved him from his father's curse for his deception. This we can certainly consider as Yaakov succeeding in his mission, as difficult as it was. However, this was only the beginning, a short-lived victory. He now has to leave his parents, Eretz Yisrael, to some unknown place to contend with his uncle. He did not merit the same luxury of his father. Eliezer would travel as Avram's emissary to Aram Naharaim to bring back a wife for Yitzchak, but he would not go there to marry, regardless if his family refused to let Rivka go. Some other strategy would be implemented to find him a wife. The instructions were clear. Rak es beni al toshev shama. Holy men belong in a holy land. Yaakov, on the other hand, has to leave as a fugitive from his unworthy brother. Rashi explains, Vayeitzei Yaakov, the loss for the people was for those living in Beersheba. A tzaddik leaves a place. Not only does his body leave, his halo, his influence leaves with him. It's hard for us to imagine how influential it is just being in the presence of a tzaddik, even for a minute, not saying a word, just the impression of being next to him. It is so incredible. However, this also signifies the pain, the sense of loss that overcame Yaakov to leave his father. Rashi is certainly correct, but this does not contradict the despair that overcame Yaakov. The Vayeitzei Yaakov was not only a loss for the people of Beersheba, it was a loss for Yaakov. We have to picture this man leaving home alone. The trip alone was fraught with danger. The Torah describes how he had to surround himself with some kind of stone structure for protection from wild animals. Chazal have a tradition that Esav sent Eliphaz, his son, to kill Yaakov. Eliphaz was a Talmud of Yaakov, so he was appeased by taking all of his money. By impoverishing him, it was tantamount to killing him. If Yaakov was vulnerable traveling with money, he would be much more vulnerable without money. There is no question that Yaakov experienced a great sense of despair. However, miracles happened that day. He would be privy to his first prophetic vision and would be in the holiest place in the world. Somehow it became dark earlier than usual, forcing Yaakov to commune with Hashem in that place. First, he was misakein the tefillah of Ma'ariv. Although we accept today this prayer as an obligation, in earlier times it was not obligatory. Prayer and travel were incongruous. Not for Yaakov Avinu. Hashem appeared to him. Prayer and travel were incongruous. Not for Yaakov Avinu. Hashem appeared to him with a vision of a ladder with legs, mutzav arza, barosho magia hashamayim. This was the vision he witnessed. The message he learned, and all of us need to learn as well, is all of us begin our journey from more or less the same place. Some of us may have a better start, but essentially we all begin at the bottom. The top of the ladder has no end. We cannot be satisfied with mediocrity. Rav Dessler compares our spiritual climb to a trajectory of a ball thrown. The higher the trajectory, the more distant it falls, even though its altitude decreases. Rabbeinu Yonah explains in Pirkei Avos that when it says, Ezu asher asamech bechelko, who is the man who is happy with his lot, refers to his material state, not spiritual state. However, we are not molecules in our human condition. Rarely are humans successful at quantum leaps like molecules. It is step by step. Just like the ladder, one rung to another rung. Hashem showed Yaakov there comes a time when one must face life challenges to achieve higher levels of perfection. It's certainly difficult for a student of Torah to leave the perfected environment of the yeshiva. It supports constant progress in learning, personality development, and most importantly, the fear of Hashem. According to our tradition, Rashi actually calculates it chronologically that Yaakov learned an extra 14 years in Yeshivas Shem Ve'ever, making him 76 years old before he embarked on his mission to raise a family. Metaphorically, the law of not eating dessert after the consumption of the Korban Pesach is to ensure that the taste lingers in our mouths even after its completion. The same applies to our days of perfection, whether having spent them in yeshiva when we were young, or later in life, or even if we are there now. This is the benchmark of our existence. We have to continue developing spiritually throughout our lives, never allowing our enthusiasm to cool off. It was his great ability to translate his learning into practice of morality, ethics, and justice in spite of adversity that elevated him to the ultimate level of greatness. The greatness Yaakov achieved in the house of Lavan surpassed even the greatness in his father's house. His prophetic vision at this point was in a dream. When he left Lavan, the Torah states, Vayar Yaakov machan elokim zeh, vayikra shem hamakom machanayim. He saw angels in an awakened state. May we be zoichet to climb the ladder of our spiritual perfection. Shabbat Shalom.
I'm trying to think, it's an awakening state.